This is the Future of the Future show. I am your host, Matias Barbero. Today, we are joined by a guest who's built his career at the intersection of Latin American entrepreneurship, technology, and global opportunity, Matias Barbero. Mati is an entrepreneur, investor, and ecosystem builder. He is the founder of 401, a Miami-based platform investing in bold ideas and venture funds, accelerating high-potential startups, and connecting Latin America with the US through a strong cross-border community of founders, investors, and operators. His work is all about connecting ecosystems, building bridges, and unlocking opportunities, especially between Latin America and the US. Whether that's through mentorship, investment, community programming, or hands-on operational leadership. In this episode, we'll dive into Mati's journey, what he's doing today, the reasons he believes Latin America founders should think globally, especially towards the US, and whether there's a truly something special about the bond between these regions. Mati, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Mateo. It's my pleasure. And nice reconnecting. And thanks again for having me in this great podcast.
Mati, what do you do today for a living?
I have fun. No, I'm just kidding. But people ask me that question a lot of times, and I love replying that. But I'm honest with you. I'm having fun, but it's by working a lot. And what I'm doing is, as you correctly said, is bridging opportunities through 401. And 401 today, it's an accelerator based out of three pillars, which is community, which includes experiences and events across Latin America, New York, San Francisco, Miami, events in other, like, for instance, like 7 days ago, we did a yacht experience in Punta del Este in the Tech Week. Community also includes a co-working space, which is 24/7 active in Miami. And then acceleration consists in bringing Latin American seed stage companies to the US, mainly Miami, moving forward San Francisco as well. And the last pillar is capital. Capital means we invest into two assets, let's put it this way. One is the startups that go through the program, these acceleration programs. And then we also invest in venture capital firms, investing in other Latinos and building community. A few examples could be Pigma, Land Accelerator, 500 Global, and then many more to come. Ideally, this map, and I can share this image later, this map will continue to grow throughout the years. So it's the startups and VCs in the things that we're investing. And then, I say having fun because a lot of my work is traveling a lot and meeting people and connecting, but making very intentional connections. This is something that I learned the last couple of years. I really came to this point of understanding like needs and opportunities and bridging them. And sometimes it just means a connection that at least it's a good experience from both parties, or other times it means also a business opportunity for 401. So it's always fun.
Why do you think LatAm entrepreneurs should focus in the US specifically?
So again, this is another question I get asked many times, is the cycle of a startup is basically growing, crashing maybe, or at least at some point get acquired, or at least at some point do an IPO, or the natural growth of a company at some point pressures you to go for a more ambitious market. And in this case, the US market is the biggest economy in the world, is the most ambitious market to play. So why companies should aim to operate in the US? Well, basically access to funding, exit opportunities, a bigger market. US needs to be in any internationalization roadmap at some point. The market is too big, but it needs to be there. VCs like to see this, and that's what 401 actually helps doing. It's like crafting that plan in order to make that market launch doable. And if not, because sometimes companies realize they can do it, it's just coming back. But at least they understood that in a short period of time with very small budget.
Do you think there is a special bond between LatAm and the US?
No, I think this only happens in cities like Miami. I especially feel Miami's. It's a yes in Miami. It's a no in the rest of in the rest of the U.S. I learned also it's really hard for founders and even ecosystem builders, but for Latinos, for us, it's pretty hard to break into those close circles in San Francisco, in New York, unless someone makes you a very warm introduction. Because here, when I say here, it's like in the US, it's all about trust, right? And people trust they trust people inside their circles. They trust people from their nationality. They trust people that are their neighbors, right? But when you go to Miami, you have a lot of Latin people that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, at some point they were in the same situation, like when you were launching, right? So they actually see this and they're open to support, to help. They're more flexible. And that's why I believe Miami is a good spot for soft landing, not necessarily to scale uh, on a global level. For sure, you will have more funds in cities like San Francisco or New York, but at least it's I think it's a good place to start and understand the US market, right? And so it's yes, partially, but mostly no. It's a hard market, and you also forget about the partners and the VCs. You also have very strong and very well funded competitors. It's very hard to find uh, a non-existent solution. I haven't seen that. The work that we also do for one is understanding like what is the niche you need to attack, right? Because the way you are thinking this, someone did it like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and everything is running super fast, especially in AI time. So yeah, it's a no and a yes.
It's a
Depends.
it's a great answer. It's a great answer and very clear. Let's go back in history. When did you get started in technology and why?
Good question. So I started almost 5 years ago from zero, from scratch, out of really nothing. Back in the days, I was doing financial services for I didn't know it. I now know this. It was a Series B company that was implementing AI for transfer pricing, something like that. I was an analyst back then. Uh, and and I was tired of, playing with numbers, and I knew I had other impact when I was, in events, and I needed to change. So I was looking for a job, and then suddenly a person calls me and said, "Hey, I want to introduce you to someone that is working in Miami. It's a close friend of mine. Like he's looking for someone like very curious and practical. And maybe you can help this guy like change because the business was not doing like this. It was like more going down. And I connected with this guy. We had like a three conversations. I remember like I didn't know anything. He told me something like, I have a few months of runway. I'm helping startups find product market fit. And for me, this was like all new terms. So I remember myself 5 years ago searching on Google what was runway, what was a startup, what was product market fit. But I removed all of that and I focused on on this good intention of like helping Latinos launch in the US. So I clicked with this concept. I joined the team. Well, we were two, so I joined the company, and I started. The pandemic was about to finish, so I started working around that. We realized we needed to work on group of companies instead of like one-on-one. We closed a few partnershis with the government of Chile, and then we scale. Right, I started traveling around and scaling these, working with different governments like Colombia, Uruguay, Chile, the Investment Development Bank, Microsoft. I was securing those partnerships, and I guess the last 4 years and a half, almost 5 years, was all around doing that, right? Moving around, securing partners, understanding who are the right people to partner with and to bring to the States. But that's how it started. Then a lot of things changed in the middle. We were later acquired. I also started a startup too. I started to invest, and that's a longer story. Maybe we can double click on that later. But I started in short terms or in short words, like almost 5 years ago, literally from zero.
It's amazing. Years are very long for you, I gather, because the amount of things that you did, the amount of things that you learned over such a short period of 5 years is amazing. If you look at those 5 years, what are some of the biggest milestones since then, moments that changed you or make you proud or made you learn something that you would like to share with the audience?
I guess one of my biggest milestones was probably my first investment in a company, like realizing like, oh, this is a game that I can also play. And maybe this is also cool for the audience to know. I'm not billionaire. I'm not like, all the opposite, right? I'm building myself here and playing with startups, investing in startups, also investing in VCs was something that I could really do on my level, of course, as I was saying. So that was a milestone, my first startup investment, my first time as an LP with 500. The startup investment was with a company called Hashi, which, by the way, I love working with the VCs and the startups that I am invested in. I travel with them, I go with them for business opportunities, for more fundraising. Right now, we're planning a trip with Gonzalo, my first angel investment, to El Salvador to make some business relationships there. So you can imagine I really enjoy that. Another milestone might be when I secured a partnership with Microsoft, and this is a funny one because this was probably 3 years ago. Uh, I realized Amazon and Google was playing very very hard around startups, so I sent a cold message to now one of my friends called Wilson from Microsoft for the startups, and I told him like, hey, Amazon and Google are doing this and that, and Microsoft is not doing it. And turns out 2 years later, we secured an acceleration program for 40 AI companies from Microsoft. And that was huge because it was built out of like nowhere. It was built out of a cold message and on LinkedIn. Um, I really believe in what we were doing back in the days. So it was not, I'm not happy because the amount of the contract, of course, it was more like a, hey, this relationship started from zero. I built this, and then we secured a partnership in which we helped 40 companies launch in the US with Microsoft, right? So that was another milestone investment, launching 401, and probably there's like a quarterly milestone because I love this industry because it's all about people, right? And you continue to meet great people, great stories. Um, I don't know, like last week, for instance, um, Nicolas Berman from partner at Kasek and one of the early employees at Mercado Libre, he told his story. He had the time of catching up like on a side, like a little bit. I told him my story, and those conversations are also milestones because talking with big players and 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 them getting back to me like with questions and showing them like interest and supporting what we are doing is just great. I'm very grateful and that's why I constantly operate on this mindset of giving back to this industry because it allowed me to do everything that I am doing, working with also with my family. That's another milestone probably, which both Daniela, my mother, and Sol, my sister, are both part of for one on my team launching a company. I could continue, Mateo. Like for every single thing that I am thinking, it's like it's a milestone. And again, I'm very even this podcast is for me. It's great. And again, thankful, grateful with the industry, and of course for you again for having me.
No, thank you, man. Thank you. W- what is networking to you?
Everything, everything. I wouldn't be here talking with you probably if it's not because of that. I wouldn't be inside this co-working space right now that I'm taking this call if it wouldn't be thanks to networking. M- when my and I realized about networking when I was 18 or 19. Um, I went for Erasmus, which is like an international exchange program. Nothing related to tech, right? This was like 10 years ago. I'm turning 29 in a few days, but these it was 10 years ago. I was in France and I needed to connect with people because I was in a university, of course, with some friends, but it was a long from home. I met a guy, he invited me for the World Cup to Russia, and I started to understand like, oh, by connecting with people very naturally and organically, things flow. And then you go there, you connect with and then you have experiences. And so in short terms, networking has always been key, even when I was in the university, and now in my work, it's all about that. I love to say that for one is the three pillars that I have: capital, acceleration, and community. You can imagine the most important one for me is definitely community. Pre-seed, seed stage, and pre-series A, I maybe series A too. It's all about people. You can have a lot of capital, but if you don't have access to people for a first pilot, for a co-investment, for a governmental grant, whatever, you're out. Or you're going to spend a lot of money, right? So it's all about people and how you connect with them, and therefore networking again. It's the most critical thing, not only for 401, but also for any founder building in early stages of entrepreneurship. So yeah, it's a word that I like, and people. I'm gonna defend this word because people sometimes feel it's networking is just going for events to have some drinks and have fun because you post that on Insta, and people feel like you're not working there, right? Or they wrongly think that. But our industry, it's all around that. So it's one of our pillars at the accelerator, but then it's also a personal pillar. Like I really mean it. I know the value out of networking is it's everything.
What do you like the most about networking, and what do you like the least about it?
The most is that you have the chance of learning stories from people, listening to them, sharing experiences, sharing countries, sharing sometimes universities, sports you like. By talking with people, if you if you learn, and I continue to learn, if you learn how to listen, you can identify pain points, problems, um, common things, commonalities, how you say it in English, commonalities, and you start building a relationship out of that. A relationship with no immediate interest, like non-transactional, which is the type of things I like to build. And this is, of course, how do I say this? Is like that gives me energy, but I understand that for a lot of people, it's like talking with people, it's annoying, right? But for me, it's knowing people, learning from them, talking with them, having a coffee. It's like it gives me energy. It's not tiring for me. And then the thing I don't like the most about networking, it's probably when I feel very when you open yourself, right, and you're sharing like everything about your family, your life. I'm very open, I'm very transparent, and I open all of my things that I can share with. I maybe in 1 hour I'm easy to share right away. So the thing I don't like the most is like when you are very kind and you are generous and you give back and all of that with no immediate intention. But on the other hand, there's some hidden interest or like something that you can't read immediately, and it turns out like after a few months, it wasn't maybe a good experience. So it's just like probably a matter of like keep reading people, right? Keep reading and learning, and then it comes to a point that you start skipping those type of people, or because you have these guys or woman, it could be anything, in all of the industries, right? But especially in this one, which is all about networking, as I was saying, or people, well, sometimes that's an awful situation. So, but it is what it is. It's no one has 100% accurate, or no one is 100% conversion rate. It's always like that.
You've done also operators roles, right? And chief operating officer and leading operations for a while. And it's part of what you do, right? Because you are a founder, CEO, etc. You do all things at once. You wear many hats, right? Um, but what do you like? I think I might know the answer, right? But what do you like about the operator's role, and what do do, or do you prefer to just focus on growth?
No, right. I love building from scratch. I'm a builder. I remember once a great VC from the US, two actually, two folks from the US told me once, Mati, you're a builder. You know how to start things from zero, position that in whatever industry it is. When there's no like even a logo or nothing, like you're good at that. But then when it comes to like growth or scaling, like things get more like routine and you need to have like 10 calls per day, convert three, sell one, like, all of that. It starts to get boring for me. I feel like I'm that type of, and I learned that. Sorry, it's not a builder. The word was starter. I'm a good starter. Someone told me that one once. And I learned that. And in the beginning, I was like, this was like 3 or 2 years ago. I was like, oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to change myself to be another type of person. And you know what? Throughout the years, I learned like, no, I'm this guy. I'm a starter. I'm going to respect this, and I'm going to operate any business that I can as long as my starter skills add value. And then it's time to find another thing. That's what happened with schooling one, of course, which is one of the is the startup that we co-founded with my business partners from Chile. After 2 years, now it's a matter of like securing more clients, going out and chasing those because we sell software to schools, right? It's go out chasing opportunities with governments, and I'm definitely not the right person to do that. And realizing about that and saying like, hey, it's not me, but it's someone else. But I want to continue supporting our company. It's also part of like the learning curve and yeah, it's part also of life. But I'm happy that I can realize about that and don't get sad. And it's like I do a lot of analogies with soccer. It's and it's the same thing. It's like after a few years, is you need to maybe go out and score goals in another place or change your position. It's around that. Nothing is written on stone. That's my one of my beliefs. So yeah, I think I replied to your question, right?
You did. I love it, and I love the starter analogy, and it takes a lot of energy, right, to fight the inertia, because things are not moving, and to move them, you have to push hard, very hard, right?
Push,
Uh,
follow up. I mean, you've been there. You started
yeah,
things because
yeah,
you know what it means.
yeah, yeah. Mati, what's next for you?
What's next for me? The next couple of years, I want to continue in this industry, more intentional, allocating more capital, building more bridges between the US and Latin America. Miami, it's pretty well established, or like consolidated after 20 acceleration programs. Now it's time to open other cities, San Francisco, New York for sure. Invest in more companies, invest in more VCs, secure more co-working spaces, locations, and keep having fun. The same as I started like this conversation is I think it's all about that, and hopefully audience and people don't get fun like as something wrong. I feel like if you're having fun and working, it's the greatest thing that could ever happen to you. More importantly, keep helping people in any way I can. It's not only helping a founder launch in the US. That's my specialty. That's what I've been doing. That's what I did also as a founder. Um, Sometimes it's just making a connection from a Latin American company to another Latin American country, or even Europe or Asia. So it's knowing it's knowing the right people and partnering with the right people and hopefully making more impact in different lives in our continent. In short terms, again, it's what's next for me. It's impacting more Latin American lives.
That's amazing, and I can only imagine what will happen in the next 5 years. Knowing your story, knowing everything that you did over the last 5 years in your whole career, right? But especially, you know, in the intensity of what you did over the last 5 years, I think the next 5 years are going to be amazing. I have one final and random question to you. What do you do when you are
Yeah.
not working?
Oh my gosh, I feel like I love it, and that's why sometimes I'm always working. But I do kite surfing. but I do kite surfing with people from this industry too. So it turns out we always end up speaking about. It's crazy, but you always end up speaking about job, right? So it's kite surfing, running, going to the gym, hanging out with friends. I can't remember doing well, probably my friends from school, but I can't remember doing that. I love traveling, but right now I mix traveling with work.
Yeah,
But probably it's those things, right? And I used to say like spending time also with my family, which is true, which was the case in Uruguay. But they're part of my team too. So in
right.
every dinner or in every lunch, we have something to common. Not for operational perspective, but talking about the industry in general. I feel like work and for one and everything that I'm doing is embedded in my life. Like it's part of my life. Very passionate about that. But for sure, kite surfing, sports, and yeah, sports. It's things that I do on the side. I don't typically read. I listen to podcasts and and I have fun. I really enjoy nightlife. I'm not gonna say party life, but nightlife. And people that understand this concept are gonna get my concept. I like hanging out at night, like going out with friends, uh, could be dating, whatever. Like I really enjoy the life when it comes to night. So yeah, it's mostly that.
You had a good season in Punta del Este so far in terms of both kite surfing and nightlife.
It was perfect. It was perfect. I went to even with people from work, like we went to some good parties. It was a very healthy atmosphere. Kite surfing was great. Family was great. Our event was great. So to be honest, I feel like I'm in a, if not the greatest moment, probably, yeah, one of the greatest moments of my life. And as I was saying, very, very grateful for that and working very hard to continue having that feeling and yeah, it was great. I can't imagine what 2026 awaits for all of us.
Mati, thank you so much. Happy birthday in advance. I know it's coming up next
Thank you.
Thursday. Hope you enjoy it with your most loved ones and friends and everything. And I'm happy that you had such a great beginning of the year. Thank you for being on my show. I appreciate it. I want to stay in touch, see where you go next, and maybe do this sometime again in the future.
Absolutely, Mateo. I would love to do this again. Hopefully in our co-working space in Miami. I'm really looking forward to seeing you there, as you know. Thank you for having me. And for anyone that wants to reach out, LinkedIn, I think it's a great channel to be in touch. If I can be helpful, do not hesitate to send me a note. And I'll also refer that you listen this on this podcast. I feel it's gonna be a good it's a good thing to also to share back with you, Mateo. So thanks again.